Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, God bless you, Celtics. Raj hops on and says, I haven't smiled in a week, but that was fun. That's how Raj said hi just now. And for the occasion, obviously, I don't own any Knicks stuff, but I got this. It's like Knicks adjacent colors, I would say. Okay. So I'm gonna put that on for my Knicks. Bing bong, mother bleepers. Raj, how much fun was that game?
That was incredibly fun. It's funny because I don't eat out a ton, but today I was like, I'm gonna get some Wingstop. And I don't know if you've had this, Anthony, where the food starts tasting better as what you're watching gets better. So every wing and fry just started to taste more and more heavenly as they kept inching back. They were down 14. I was like, 14, close game. Then it's like 5, then it's like 3. And those mango habanero wings just started to taste like the greatest thing ever made. And
they started tasting like Celtics tears.
Yes. Right.
See, I could dip this wing in ranch, or I could dip it in Celtics tears.
They, by the way, have the best honey mustard sauce out there, in my opinion. Wingstop has incredible honey mustard sauce. But every wing and every fry just tasted like the GOAT every single time when they were coming back. But 2-0. The 2 top seeds are down 2-0. What the hell is happening in the NBA? But yeah, that was exciting to watch the Knicks do it again.
Seeds are down 2-0.
Yeah, the Celtics and the Cavs in the East.
Oh, right? In the East. Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say because.
Oh, I mean, another one might be.
I mean, yeah, like we're not there yet. Although Scott Foster was assigned to the game in OKC, right. So I'm guessing that'll go back to Denver 1-1.
Okay. That's why he's there. Yes.
Apologies for how I sound, everybody. I woke up today, Raj, feeling perfectly fine. Little bit of a headache. I need to change out the air filter in our for our AC. Okay. We usually have it like just on Amazon auto ship, but Jen changed the credit cards on it. So like all of our subscribe and saves have been knocked off course. Very importantly is that AC filter, because the air out here in Texas is not very good. And I woke up today. I'm like, man, I got a bit of a headache. That's a little weird. I turned on Andor and had the coughing attack from hell. Like I could not breathe. I texted Jen. I was like, hey, I can't breathe. I don't know if I need to go to the hospital, but I haven't been able to breathe for like an hour. Obviously, I was able to eventually breathe, but this is now what my voice sounds like for the foreseeable future. So apologies in advance. And that was partially why I reached out to you today, Raj. Because I do not think I could handle a solo show. But anyway, yeah, I want to go back.
You turned on Andor. Is that like the TV show? Is that what that is? All right. I was just wondering how important a detail was that in this story that you just told.
It's like the best TV show on TV.
You say that about like so many shows.
Because they are not on all the time. Like there's different shows that are on at different times. Right now, over the last few weeks or so, Andor has been the best TV show of the last few weeks. And I think it'll probably wind up being one of the better, like top 2-3 shows of the year would be my guess, is how this is going to play out. Absolutely unbelievable season of television. But I'm guessing you're not a Star Wars guy.
And I've seen the Star Wars. I think I've seen the movie. I'm pretty sure I've seen them just by them being on.
Can you do me a favor? From memory.
Yeah.
Can you try to do the Darth Vader sound, like the Darth Vader song? Do you know that song?
The dun 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 dun.
No,
that's not it. That is it,
like
right?
Close. It was close. Like you missed a note in there somewhere. But
okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was hearing like the flow of the dun 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 dun. Like
yeah, there's no way I would have hit that. Like that was way too. That was way too long.
Yeah. All right. You know what? I'll give you points for that. I'll give you that one. Well done. Okay. But yeah, Andor is unbelievable. People in the chat, let me know if you guys are watching Andor too. But yeah, it's an unbelievable show. that game between our New York Knickerbockers and
Yes.
the Boston Celtics was also one hell of a show. I'm going to start out the episode here, even though we're 5 minutes in. I'm gonna start it out the way that I did yesterday or a couple days ago, following game one with this. Very important to kick things off in the right direction there. Raj, you made a point though before we went live about Mitchell Robinson and the Celtics potentially
yes.
being rewarded for like had they won, they would have been rewarded for fouling Mitchell Robinson, hack-a-Mitch or whatever it is. And we disagree on this one. In this case, to me, it falls within the realm of strategery. Where like make the case though.
There's just well, first of all, like I don't know if you made the point or someone did. If you tried this in any run around the world, they would throw you out. This is just not something you can do in any pickup run in the
Well,
world. I know
you
the
can't
NBA.
foul out in
That's what I'm
any
saying.
run.
So like,
And you
this
don't
just
shoot free throws in
that's
any run.
fine. Number one, I think it just ruins there's no one in that building, including Celtics fans, I'm sure, that want to watch a free throw contest. And I think the numbers have borne out. It doesn't actually help, even when you boil it down to points per possession, right? Even a 50% free throw shooter is going to go 1 for 2 in a case. And I know that's not a perfect math towards it. It hurts you've made this point a ton on this pod as well, that the NBA is an entertainment league. It's an entertainment business. That is awful entertainment. And number 3, you can't play playoff defense against the Knicks. The Knicks the whole point was your offense was supposed to be much better than them. I hate that it's not anything to do with playoff basketball. It is a strategy, quote unquote. I think it's an awful strategy is one they can run. I don't think it's that helpful. It takes you out of transition offense. It takes you out of transition, puts your whole team out of getting any transition points because you let defense set up. And yeah, but my main point on this, that the numbers part get out of like, it doesn't even matter. I just hate it from a viewing perspective. It's awful as a viewer of the product, as an enjoyer of NBA basketball, and it does not bring new fans into it as well. I just think there's nothing that it helps. I would like this to not be available throughout the whole game. Like if you do an intentional foul away from the ball, it should be free throws and the ball every single time. I hate this, I hate this rule, and I'm so glad Boston was not rewarded for it. They tried this twice. They did it in game 1 as well. They weren't rewarded for it. They did it again tonight. They weren't rewarded for it. And I think it tells like the message it sends to your team, Anthony, like, hey, we can't guard them so much that we're going to foul every time. I hate it. I hate the perspective.
I don't know that it's like to me. All right before they started hacking in game 2, in game 1, like I get it. You're kind of just playing the numbers there.
You're up 20.
Well, sure. Well, that actually that's a fair point. That like you shouldn't do that up as much as they were. In this one, they were like they needed Robinson out of the game. They were not handling the Knicks 2 big lineups very well.
Yeah.
So I kind of understood it. I also especially understood it because Mitchell Robinson shot a free throw, which is what 10.5 feet or 15 feet or whatever it is. He shot whatever like the actual length of a free throw is. He shot it about 4 feet short. And like if I were coaching the other team, I would hack that guy too. Like we would have to. If I need that guy out of the game and this guy is killing me on the offensive boards, it's his main weakness. I'm not going to let him off the hook for shooting an 11-foot shot or whatever it is, 7 feet. I can't. That's like it to me. If you don't allow that, and you allow Mitchell Robinson, and you allow DeAndre Jordan, and you allow Shaq, and you allow all these terrible free throw shooters over the years to just exist as terrible free throw shooters without hurting their team, that I think runs antithetical to the like spirit of basketball.
Yeah, I could see that, and I think there's a difference between like when Shaq or don't want to put Shaq and Mitchell Robinson in the same sentence at all, but
free throw shooters, yeah,
sure. So when they catch the ball like in a scoring position and you foul them to make sure they can't get a shot up, I totally understand that. And usually you see this, Anthony, when teams are down, right? Like usually when teams are losing, they'll go to this. When you're up and you're protecting a lead with it, it destroys the whole idea of basketball to me. And the worst part about this to me, Boston was awful in the half court. They could not score at all.
Yeah,
Everything was a
it
jump
does
shot.
slow you down.
Couldn't get to the rim, and you
But that's
remove
part of
Trent.
the math, though, Raj. Is that like you like that?
It's terrible math. I thought it was awful decision.
I know,
Mazzulla.
but that's what I'm saying. Is that like it? Like I think the case against it here is that it's not actually helping you very much. It's kind of like the
Sure.
walk the dog thing, right? Where
Right, yeah.
like for a while there it was like this cool new thing, and teams were taking advantage of it to a certain extent. Now the Lakers, while AD was on the team, was literally had him like blocking up the court. And the problem with walking the dog is that
Lakers
you
do it at
basically
halftime. It's like, what are you doing, man?
yeah, there's that. But the problem with walking the dog is that like it forces you into half court possession, and it allows the defense to just stand there and wait for you to come down. And I would like to see what like the scoring per like points per possession would be after a team walks the dog, like on that possession. It's one of those things that like again, it runs kind of against the spirit of the game. And if as that is the case, I'll even grant you that case because I agree with to a certain extent. I agree with you. As that is the case, and if it's against the spirit of the game, eventually the game's going to come back and win itself over, right? In this case, the Celtics lost in part because by putting themselves into those half court situations, they couldn't get a bucket. They didn't score a field goal for 8 straight minutes. And when they finally did score, it was like on a semi-transition moving screen that Al Horford set, right? Like it required a full length of space to get that runway going. And I think in that, like, I don't think we need to legislate it out, but I do think a lot of times the basketball gods are going to reward you for playing straight up basketball as the Knicks were.
Right. And I think I think cheating the game is probably too strong, but there's a bunch of things that have happened in the league that we've changed the rules on. The Kevin Durant, I call it the Kevin Durant rip through move, right?
Yeah,
that has
mm-hmm.
used to be a free throws, and now it's not. It's always side out unless they're, in the bonus. I'm not trying to fully look at it from entertainment value, but just basketball is a flow sport. To me, that's why, as a biased member, it's the best sport that's going because there's a level of flow to it that no other sport
has flow.
Yes, I was gonna say other than soccer, which collects maybe 5-6 points at the most. And when you're watching like basketball, that's what's to me beautiful about
like don't.
I'm sorry, goals. It's a point registered.
I just heard it like I didn't hear that through my ears. I actually heard that in the back of my head. It's like, oh, like
I've been corrected on that before. But no, basketball is a flow sport, and that's the beautiful part about it when they're going back and forth and scoring, and you're watching Brunson hit like a nasty step back 3, and then it's let's foul Mitchell Robinson. It's like, man, like this is like go mano y mano. That's the whole point of this. Tatum should be going back and forth with Brunson, not
he doesn't want to.
Okay, well that's a bigger issue then. But yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole beauty of the playoffs is the matchups and watching them going back and forth, and then to have it turn to that. Obviously, it's turned off with 2 minutes left. Then they can't go to it, and I thought Tibbs and the Knicks were really creative in the way they forced them to foul, then took them out for OG. Yeah. I thought that was pretty genius. Which I'm not sure how the Celtics didn't read that. Reggie Miller had that 3 minutes before it happened, but yeah.
Well, you can tell what they were doing. It's like OG started walking up to the table, and Tim was like, "Hold on, how many fouls? Hold on 1 second. So stay right there." And now go ahead. Like everybody watching it understood it except for the Celtics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanna go back really quickly to like this game in more of a macro sense, because I think this is a bit of a table setter for the conversation with the Lakers in that the Celtics are dogmatically hardwired to play a certain type of basketball, right? I think so far in this series, they have missed almost 83 pointers through 2 games. That's missed, Raj, not shot.
Yeah.
They have missed almost 83 pointers through 2 basketball games here. And the math says keep shooting. Eventually, you're a good shooting team. Eventually, these numbers are going to turn around and all this stuff. But to everybody watching, it's like, do you actually want to do that?
Right.
Like I was watching, I even tweeted like, keep on shooting, Celtics. You'll get it eventually.
Right.
and where do you stand on sticking with your identity or adjusting because of the situation?
Yeah, it's funny watching Boston. It feels like Brown and Tatum don't talk to each other. Like I'm not just talking on the court, I'm just talking in general. It feels like it's
Yeah.
very much two universes that are on different sides. It's just so fascinating to watch them play, but I mean, they've won so many games doing what they're doing. Obviously, it's very much a, mathematical approach to basketball. It's very much a we're going to just collect threes. And the beauty of this game to me, and just why basketball, like the universe always makes things right, is that Tatum this year was told like, hey, no mid-range jumpers, right? Like you're driving to the rim or threes, and all the pure is not the best way to put it, but they're like, man, the mid-range jumper is still important, it still matters. And
Oh, the
what
Hoopers,
shot?
real Hoopers Twitter.
Yeah, right. Hooper versus basketball player. And so they're like, no, mid range it's still important in a playoff setting. And what shot does Tatum go to with the game on the line? The rim's taken away.
The turnover?
Well, before that. So
I had to. What shot did he go to? Turning it over to Mikal Bridges, baby.
No, well, if you watch the play, the rim's taken away, the 3-pointer's taken away. He's forced to take a one-legged baseline fading mid-range jump shot. That's the shot that's available in the playoffs. So there is some of this, like you got to kind of believe in what you're doing while trusting the process with it. But Tatum and Brown are so skilled as drivers. Like they have Jalen Brunson on them. They're going step back three. And I mean, it's very similar to the Lakers as well, right? Very much that's a shot that they trust will go in. I'm glad those are ones that they're continuing to take. And, Boston can very much still push this. I remember they were down 3-0 to Miami, I believe, and pushed it to 7 a few years ago. Now, I think this Knicks team's a little better than that in terms of the talent they have. But yeah, I think they're going to continue to trust. And these are good shots, I guess, technically. But where it kind of falls off to me is Tatum and Brown are really skilled drivers. Like they're way too talented to me to just be taking the shots that they take. I think Brown was 1 for 10 from 3 in game 1, continued to kind of throw them up tonight. Tatum had 15 points in the fourth quarter, whatever it was. And his only real points, I think it was a 17-2 run. And all it was a driving dunk from Tatum and kind of semi transition, not exactly transition, but the Knicks weren't fully set up. So, but it looks like they're going to die on the hill of these open threes will eventually go in. And I think what the Knicks have done in a smart way is like, all right, those threes are going to go to Al Horford. Those threes are going to go to Drew Holiday. Those threes, like these are the people we'll live with shooting. And they've won doing that. And they've come back twice and held Boston, I believe, under 100 points. That's super impressive for a team that's kind of broken the offensive records that they have. So we'll see what how the series plays out. But I'm so happy that was a really nice cap to a week that's been extremely tough.
Otherwise kind of shitty.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. Here's kind of where I stand on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that you kind of talked about Tatum and Brown as drivers and how the nerds have kind of eliminated that, not eliminated, but like really limited it from their game. And I think part of why, because essentially the Celtics are fine with them driving if they get all the way to the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine with them driving so long as it results either in a dunk or free throws. And in the postseason, that's hard to come by, right?
That's what they take away.
It's difficult to get all the way to the basket, and free throws go way down in the postseason. So these guys are saying, well, shoot, if I can't get all the way there and I'm not taking that shot anyway, then what am I actually creating by actually getting into the paint? And watch the Celtics down the stretch of these two, piss down your leg, just complete choke jobs that we've watched from this team over the last couple of games. And the ball stops touching the paint. You watch them early in the game and the ball gets inside implodes the defense. Ball kicks out, and the threes are taken by shooters. There's a big difference, Raj, in shooting ability when your shoulders are already square to the basket, and when you're stepping into the catch, you're stepping towards the basket. When the Celtics look their worst and the ball is just kind of popping around the perimeter without any real penetration, guys have to rotate their shoulders. They aren't stepping directly to the basket with when they step to catch the pass. And when a team like the Knicks, who is fantastic at closing out, that extra half second that it takes to rotate your shoulder all the way around to face the basket again, that matters a lot, and I think that's why there's such a discrepancy in shooting with these Celtics, especially as you get later in the game, because you get more tired. It's a long shot. Again, we've talked about this before. It's a long shot to get the ball from the 3-point line to the basket. That's a lot needs to go right for that shot to go right. And when you have to, when you add to that extra element of needing to rotate, baskets over here. I used to prefer, I'm left-handed, so I used to prefer shooting from the right wing, from the right side of the court, because that means as my shoulders are rotating, as I'm stepping into the shot, my shoulders are just kind of naturally rotating, and I'm releasing that way. But still, like that, the amount of time that it takes to rotate over like that matters a lot when you have a closeout coming from OG Anunoby, from Mikal Bridges, or from Josh Hart, right? And I think, you mentioned who the Knicks are kind of allowing shoot those shots. The Knicks have done a really good job of forcing the pass.
Yeah.
To like the shooter the guy who's on the other side of that pass is being closed out by one of those three guys. It's not like they it's not swing pass and Cat needs to go out and close out hard. It's not, a possession at the top of the paint or the top of the key where Brunson has to go and close out hard, and he's so short that you don't really feel the closeout. They've funneled these drives into places on the court where the drive and kick, if it happens at all, is going out to somebody guarded by these super athletic wings. And you add all of that up, and this is where I think Boston, is going to have to adjust. They are going to have to figure out a way to succeed without shooting 63 pointers in a game, because they aren't succeeding while they're shooting 63 pointers in a game.
Right. Yeah. And look, I don't know how they switched that. They took 43s and went 10 for 40, right? I think whatever they were from game one, something along those lines. But to your point, I mean, Derek White took 11 threes. Al Horford took 5. I think that's the people that they want taking them. Peyton Pritchard took 9. I mean, he hit 3 of them, but 9 threes for Peyton Pritchard, right? I think that's kind of within line.
A lot of them were from deep too.
I mean, that's the kind of shots he takes. That's how he won Sixth Man of the Year.
That's a long shot, and I think all of these shots get more difficult in the postseason. So it's like, you're right. Those are shots that he takes. I'm not disagreeing with you that those are shots that he takes. Those are his shots, right? However, in the postseason, that shot becomes a lot tougher.
It does. And look, they've had double-digit leads in the fourth, so I'm sure that's kind of what they'll look at, and I'm sure that's how Mazzulla will kind of look at the process of this. They were up 20 in the fourth in game one, up at least 14 in game two, blew both of those. And I think a lot of that is their half court offense is very much, and this kind of goes to the Lakers as well, right? Very much turn based. Tatum and Brown run nothing together. This is year, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Nothing, no semblance of offense where both of them are creating advantages at the same time. And it's similar to the things we've talked about where if you screen for one another, the teams are going to switch it, but still they don't screen at all, or there's just nothing involved. And it's a lot of just one-on-one basketball. And Tatum's good enough where he can score sometimes on that. But I tweeted this before the series, and Celtics fans, as they do, found the tweet, like, "Oh, you idiot, the Knicks are going to get swept." I was like, the Knicks built a team, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with this, Anthony. They built a team to go against the Celtics. Like, that's what, to me, Towns, Bridges, and OG are direct responses to Porzingis, Tatum, and Brown. Obviously, Brunson is the head of their snake, but just to match up with the wings, and I think it's played out.
In terms of recent acquisitions, I think you're right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yes, like all three of those guys are kind of like, okay, who's the head of the East. It was Boston. Obviously, the Cavs got the number 1 seed, but Boston is the team to beat. That's why we're going to go trade for Towns. We're going to go trade for OG. We're going to go give $1 million first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. So we have wings to go against them. And look, their offenses haven't been great. Mikal blew up in the fourth quarter, but he was scoreless going in. But I think just having, and I think as Laker fans, is something for us to watch, just having wings that are physical, that don't just give up switches. Watch OG defend. They're not just letting Brunson sometimes Brunson ends up on Tatum or Brown, but not every time. Towns,
but it takes a long time to get there.
Exactly. They make them earn the Towns switch, right? Like that's what Tatum wants to attack Towns. That's very clear. He could write that on his forehead. It's like, I'm going at Karl Anthony Towns. Like it's super clear. But the Knicks are like, we know that as well. We're gonna make you work for it. There's gonna be 6 seconds on the clock by the time you get that switch, and it's gonna be a step back jumper. And look, Tatum was 5 for 19. Brown was 8 for 23. These are tough shots that they're taking at the end of the clock. So yeah, hopefully the Knicks can close this out. Knicks have some tendencies of passes and shots they take that make me nervous watching them. But this has been a super gutsy effort for them to go up 2-0 and win 2 games on the road in Boston. That's huge.
Yeah. I want to swing this over to the Lakers side of things because, we talk about dogmatic kind of commitment to an ideology, a basketball ideology that we're seeing from Boston. And I'm a little nervous that the two ideologies that the Lakers are heading towards are kind of at odds with each other, where JJ Redick is kind of a slave to spacing, and Luka Ball is predicated on like the core of Luka. The core tenet of Luka Ball is that pick and roll with a center who can catch the ball above the rim and dunk on entire cities. Those two things can't coexist at the same time on the court. Now you can have elements of both of those things over the course of a game, but when it comes down to it, one of those two guys are going to have to sacrifice a little bit of their ideology. And that's not even including the fact that the Lakers are probably going to head into next season with LeBron and Austin on the team. And Luka Ball kind of takes away from the value that both of those guys kind of present, so long as the three of those guys are on the court at the same time. And it, like, I'm watching the Boston Celtics in the series, just absolutely, they might go home, Raj, because they refuse to adjust. Now they might refuse to adjust and the math evens out and they might make us all look stupid. That might be how this plays out. And then you look at a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves in game 1, where Julius Randle was playing garbage minutes down the stretch of the game, right?
He's back on earth, is what you're saying?
He returned to being Julius Randle. And I thought that Minnesota kind of ditched their identity too quickly there. The problem at the beginning of the game there, as Finch said, was Anthony Edwards not really attacking. I thought Randle was bad, but I don't think he was so bad that you, in game 1 at home, so quickly ditch your identity. You got to there has to be a middle ground between what the Celtics are doing and what the Wolves did in game 1. And my thing is here with the Lakers is there a middle ground, Raj, between Luka Ball, JJ Redick's preference to playing small? Because I don't think you could play small with Luka on the team, or with him on the court. Can the Lakers find a middle ground between JJ wanting to play small and 5 out and space the floor as much as he wants to, Luka wanting a rim running and rim pick and rolling big, and also taking into account the value that LeBron and Austin have on the ball on the ball too. Can those Rob, I'm not even going to factor into this. I know when we talked with Harrison, we talked about those 4 sides all kind of pulling in potentially different directions. I don't think Rob has a basketball vision. I think he is very much a facilitator, and kind of a reactor. So I'm just going to leave him off to the side. But those 3, the power of 3 here, is there a middle ground that those 3 entities can find?
I 100% think there is. And I just really quickly on Minnesota Warriors, which might have been the most frustrating game I've watched besides the ones where the Lakers lost in. I agree with you, and I agree with Finch in somewhat where it was Anthony Edwards' lack of aggression. But I want to give the Warriors some credit here, and Steve Kerr. I thought Kevon Looney changed the game, like having Kevon Looney in there, and I was watching that going, we didn't have a Kevon Looney level big man. Like Kevon Looney's 48 in terms of minutes, not actual age, but in terms of what he is and the way he moves. But just a guy who's
Yeah.
big, who's physical.
He was a small forward at UCLA.
Yeah, he was like,
It's the
it was like
weirdest
Kevin
thing.
Durant comparisons in terms of
It's like
slenderness. Yeah,
it's like his like the path that he has taken in the NBA, while like being really good on that
excellent.
path too,
Yeah,
by the way. But going from being a small forward at UCLA, I watched him like, and I'm like, if you would have told me watching him at UCLA, I think he's had some injuries. I think that slowed him down.
that's
But
why.
he's also he's bulked up. He's
Sure.
super physical. He's maintained like just enough of that skill. I would not have seen this come. Absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, right. And so like his role on that team is really just to be big, be physical, be a body in the lane. And I think that is part of what deterred Minnesota. And it's why, we joke about Julius Randle, but I think just showing an extra guy on Randle where he knows if he beats his guy, he still has another guy to worry about. And I think that matters, in terms of defending them and just giving Anthony Edwards. It was frustrating as hell to watch a team to defend and score on Minnesota the way that, we hope to. I 100% think this team can play small ball. And the frustrating part to me is the way they did in the regular season is what I thought they would do in the playoffs. I mean, obviously Jackson Hayes didn't figure into this, but take Jackson's name out of it. We started a lob threat center who played 15 and 20 minutes a game. And then we had our our small ball units, for the rest of it. Obviously, I think there's a way to get another big man kind of in the rotation, but I think that's a fine, especially in the regular season. We'll see in a playoff format, but I think Luka can thrive with either of those. I mean, look at the numbers; they were a -10 in the playoffs, but Anthony, they were a +18 in the regular season. That team was good. That small ball unit was good. It did work. The only thing that the problem was they didn't have another pitch in the playoffs to me, and it's just the Knicks tonight. They closed with Cat and Robinson on the floor. That's a look we just don't have. That look doesn't even exist on our team. We don't have it because Koloko didn't make and Alex Landon was coming nowhere near basketball court. So we didn't have a too big look at all to go to.
It was.
Oh man, yeah. Cleaver's a forward in my eyes,
Yeah.
but just not having any center, and obviously, like I made the point when we did the pod with Harrison on that. Yes, there are a bunch of people rowing in a boat. Also, I mean, I don't know. Those are those small boats, I guess, in the lake. But the only one who's rowing matters is Luka. Like that's whose boat we're on. That's whose timeline we're on. And I think he wants a center. It was clear that's how the Mark Williams trade was packaged in terms of it was Luka's request. I think we're gonna get more names of that out of the Craig's Dinner restaurant that happened a week ago, whenever that was. I'm sure their center names were coming up in that meeting as well. So I like that's gonna be my issue this whole summer is it's gonna be sold as small ball doesn't work, which it's just effectively not true. It was effective. It's just we weren't up against a team that was better at small ball than us. That was one of my concerns playing Golden State as well. They have a really great small ball lineup. Minnesota with Naz Reid is not small, but they effectively play that way, and they outplayed us, and we didn't have another card to go to. So I would hope like when LeBron, Austin are back, I still think that's a very effective unit. We beat really good teams with it down the stretch of games. We beat Denver with it, right? Who's playing well in the playoffs now. But yeah, I just hope we have a center rotation that makes more sense. I don't think JJ will like again. Our only comparison, Anthony, is Jackson Hayes and Anthony Davis. Those are two centers we had. How do you know what JJ believes in terms of the big man?
But like even at various points in the season where the Lakers' only option was like Christian Koloko, he still wasn't really interested in playing him, right? Like there's a certain amount of size that I think a team has to have over the course of a game, and my bar, where my bar sits, is significantly higher than I think JJ Redick's, and I think that's obviously not a conversation I'm going to have with JJ, but that's always going to there's always going to be friction there with how the two of us see basketball. The problem though is, Raj, like if JJ sees basketball that way, and the bar for entry for him is too close to Anthony Davis, he's still going to bump heads with the way that Luka wants to play, right? And I want to go back to the point that you made about the death lineup or whatever, the small ball lineup that the Lakers had that played well over the course of the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
One, there was no data on it, so teams couldn't quite scheme for it. Two, it happened in a point of a season where a lot of those numbers can tend to be kind of funny, right? March numbers are kind of weird. And then three, it strikes me more as like an innings eater lineup than it is a death lineup. And the reason that I'm nervous about, because what I did in the last episode was basically try to lay out the key tenets of a tenets, not tenants. They aren't renting, but tenets of small ball, right? Foot speed, versatility, shot making, and motor. I think those are the four that I would kind of point to. If anybody else has any other ones, then let me know. Athleticism, I think, it kind of goes without saying, but still.
Sure.
And where I think a Luka small ball unit is always going to be at an inherent disadvantage, unless you look at him as a center, essentially defensively, they are always going to be slow. They're always going to be very, very slow on the perimeter if your point guard is Luka Doncic in the small ball lineup, and so I agree with you to a certain extent that I think the Lakers should play a little small ball. That should be a pitch that they put in their back pocket. I don't know that I would consider that their strikeout pitch, though. I would just say it's a mix-it-up pitch over the course of a game, but I wouldn't like what the Lakers basically did coming by necessity. But what they basically did was like, all right, we are going to beat teams with our small ball. But
Sure.
I think what the Lakers need to do going into next season is we are going to beat you by beating you, right? We are going to beat the piss out of you and then occasionally go small and change up the rhythm of the game by going small a little bit. But I think they need to be a lot bigger, and that needs to be kind of their dominant pitch.
Well, the whole idea, at least of the death lineup that the Lakers trotted out there, right? Because I think small is in quotations when we said it because every position is not small. The only small position is the center, right? All the forwards and the guards are huge. Even Austin at 6'5" is pretty big for the position that he would have played there. And I think there was a way to play bully ball with that. The whole idea was Luka and LeBron overpower their matchups in those units. I just think they ran into a Minnesota team that was
can't be overpowered.
Very capable of going against it and had a bunch of physical defenders. Obviously, and there was one game Luka was sick. LeBron obviously was nursing an injury at the end as well. Not excuses for it, but again, I think that our small ball worked to the point where I think it's a successful thing they can go to. There are advantages to spacing out the floor for the best ball handler in the league. Like that's a very advantageous lineup to create. Now, I think we can really dive into that. Is Dorian and Rui good enough? Like, are those two athletically, capable enough to defend at the position that they'll need to help mitigate some of the issues that a LeBron, Austin, and Luka, trio create in terms of defensively? Also, like, again, watching the Warriors trot out Anthony post, like the Warriors played 13 guys in game one. And at no point I was watching that going, man, they're overmatched defensively. And it felt like they were very in sync on the same page. I'm not blaming JJ for this. Just this is what stood out to me. There was a competitive spirit that the whole roster 1 through 13 had, from GP2 to their, 13, 14 guy that got into the game. From who's the guy number 61? I'm forgetting his
Spencer.
Pat Spencer comes in and just is physical, guards, rebounds. I think he got ejected against the Houston series. It's just there's a level of fight that when you are small, you need to have, right? There's a little bit of this. I think it's
that's the problem though, Raj, is that like I didn't see that from this team. None of the guys that you listed are really wired like that, outside of maybe Dorian.
Sure.
The guys that you listed, Luka is not like a slap the floor, get out, die for a loose ball type of defender. Austin, he competes, but that's not really how he gets after it. LeBron, there's no reason for him over the course of his career you don't want him doing that. And then Rui,
Sure.
the fact that Rui, I had an exchange, I won't say with who it was, but I had an exchange, last week about some of the comments that some of the guys made after in their exit interviews. And Rui was like, yeah, we need to bring in some size to be able to get some rebounds. And it's like,
Yeah.
Rui, you're huge, dude.
But
You're a giant person. You are one of the strongest players in the NBA. You are like one of the top physical specimens. You shouldn't be making this point.
but he's not wrong though. Like Rui's
No,
correct.
he's not, but it's also like Rui, grab 6.5 boards. Here, like Kobe challenges, Mamba challenges, whatever we want to call it. Rui's Mamba challenge is 6.5 rebounds next year. I'll even bring it down to 5.5. But like, he's not wrong, but it's like you need, if you're gonna play, because like, have you ever heard that from somebody like GP2?
No,
Pat
but
Spencer is like, yeah, we just have no chance of getting the loose balls in the scene. No, there's a certain mentality that you have to have, and I just don't think like between the physical like skill sets that we're talking about here, namely with Luka. Look, if he comes into that like next season in crazy shape, then I'm willing to rethink the stance. I just don't think he's going to. So like because Austin foot speed wise isn't a great athlete, right? Even Dorian, who is wired the way that we kind of need him to be wired here, he's kind of lacking in foot speed. I just don't think the Lakers, you're right. They can maybe they could bully other small ball lineups with positional size. I guess they could theoretically, but the problem with that is you could potentially arrive where the Lakers were, where they were both smaller and slower. And that's a terrible combination. No matter what sport you're playing, I can't think of a single sport, Raj,
where you're smaller and
where
slower.
it's good to be small and slow. I can't think. Maybe golf. Golf is the only one. and there's a debate as to whether or not it's a sport.
Sure. And look, we do this with defense too. I'm looking with Luka and LeBron are incredible rebounders, right? And I think that fits to me. Like if you're going to play this type of lineup, I think that's number one. You need awesome rebounders, and those two do gobble up double-digit boards. The Rui thing is funny because it shows how everyone wishes they were taller, right? It's like these 5'11" guy wishes he was 6'2". Yeah, and Rui went a whole series going against Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid, going, man, if God just gifted me a little bit more. He's like a 6'9", like
for a ridiculous amount of my life. I thought if I was like 3 inches taller, I could have played semi like in the G League, not in the NBA, nowhere near that, but I could have played somewhere, Europe, anything like that. And then I actually saw more of those guys play. I'm like, nope, that wouldn't have helped either.
Right. No, those G League guys are incredible. If anyone get a chance to,
they were in fairness to like my dumbass when I was in college. This is not a stance that I had when I was like out of college or anything like that. But in college, G League basketball then was very different from G League basketball now. Right. G League basketball then you had guys being traded for like washing machines.
No, it was still but the part that that I think I'll die with this summer is we lost not because we couldn't defend, right? Even though that was an issue in terms of the rebounding, we lost because we couldn't score. So the whole advantage of going small and being theoretically you're supposed to be quicker, but anyway, if you're slower and you're not as big, but you're supposed to have an increase in skill at least, right? So small equals more skill in a general sense. That's the whole reason teams go small. But we lost the skill battle too. Like that to me is the dangerous part about it. Yeah, that's when it's over. Like that's when you lose. So you can't lose all three of those. Like you can be maybe down 2, but you lose the third one and it's over. So that's the frustrating part to me, where I think a big man helps, because this whole big man thing is framed in a defensive conversation mostly in terms of, we need more size, we need rim protection, which is all true, which is all factual. But to me, the big man also helps the offense. There's a level of stability in conventional basketball that it grants you when you have a rim rolling threat and you're not trying to make Rui that or LeBron that, who are clearly guys who don't want to do that for as long as you have to be a threat. And my favorite part of maybe this series, not favorite but interesting, is Luka yelling at Rui, going, Rui, come up, like come up. And Rui's like, I don't do that, like this is not my role, like I don't set 3 million screens a game, but that's how Minnesota was defending, and we didn't have another big man to play. So yeah, I think it helps both ends, but especially like we could not score. I thought we defended well enough. I thought we fought hard, at least on the other side, boxing out Gobert and all that stuff. Obviously, the last game was what it was. But yeah, us like 17 points a game in the fourth quarter with a team that has LeBron and Luka on it. But
isn't that also, Raj, a place where there needs to be more compromise between, team-wide elements of basketball and Luka ball? Because to me, the reason that the Lakers struggled down the stretch was because two of Austin, LeBron, or Luka were turned into spot-up shooters every possession down the court in at the ends of those games. And it's not, to be clear, we can call it Luka ball, we can call it mismatch ball, we can call it whatever we want to call it. But at the end of the day, they did not involve more than one of those guys in many of those possessions down the stretches of those games. And if you're essentially turning Austin or LeBron or Luka, and probably especially Luka, into a spot-up shooter, you're doing what the defense is trying to do in the first place, right? And this is again where, this offseason, so I made this point yesterday on the show, and I wish I would have phrased it a little bit better. I don't think the Lakers have enough assets to rebuild their rotation and maximize Luka ball, because that requires turning Austin probably into a two who fits better alongside Luka. That involves going out and getting a top like 10 to 15 caliber center in the NBA. I don't think the Lakers have the assets to do that and add the foot speed and athleticism that you need to. So to me, if the Lakers are going to take that next step forward as a team, as an organization next year, it's going to come with a lot of the same pieces that they had this year. And I just think the way that you do that, the way that you take that next forward is through schematics, it's through tactics, it's through maximizing those three guys. And maybe the Lakers go into next season, my prediction probably, in having some conversations, just like preliminary conversations, is that the Lakers will probably look somewhat the same next year. A couple upgrades here and there. But I think the Lakers really want to see what Luka, LeBron, Austin look like with a full offseason of working with JJ, a full offseason of working with each other, and finding some way to, again, as we started this entire segment with, find that middle ground between the 3 points in the triangle.
I'd be shocked if they go into next season without a starting caliber center. Now that can,
no, I think so too. No, I'm saying I don't think they have enough assets to check all of the boxes that they need to.
Sure. And look,
personnel.
And I don't think they like, this is a team that ended up winning 50 games, right? A lot of that with, AD missing and Luka coming in February. They had that crazy March schedule, which was what it was. But I thought this team was good, and they went into Oklahoma City and, almost beat them twice. A Thunder team that might win the freaking title. They, showed that they belong on the same floor with them. I think Minnesota had just inherent physical advantages that I think they can go and solve. But I've always been like, this is a good team. Like, it's not a great team. They're not going to be the favorite for the title, but there's a lot of talent on it. And, there's, I'm sure people are coming up to you as well with this in terms of trade machines and showing what they can move. It's just like the stuff you'll get back is probably not worth the risk in what, these type of trades are coming in, role player for role player type stuff that I'd be shocked the Lakers do. I think they do believe in their top 5, maybe 6. You want to throw Gabe in there. And then from there, I think everyone's expendable. And the same deal that was thrown for Mark Williams is, I'm sure, will be thrown around for other centers going around with more filler available, right? I think that's why Shake Milton was still on the roster. Maxi Kleber has a contract that's very movable. Obviously, Gabe, Jared Vanderbilt, all these guys, they feel like they did not play at all in the playoffs. They can, go ahead and throw them into deals. But again, I don't see this
not
team.
a movable contract. I wouldn't lump him. Vando.
Oh, well, I mean, he's salary that you can,
I
put
wouldn't.
together.
I wouldn't. He's not movable
Uh,
unless
okay,
you're willing to trade like an asset to get off of Vanderbilt. He is going to be a Laker next year.
sure. I've heard the same, but just saying he's salary that you can maybe add or just add up to get to wherever you need to go if they need to make a deal done. But I'm with you. I think Vanda will be back. I just again I don't think this team is so far away that that they need to blow everything up. I do think there's some styles that need to be fixed. I'm with you. I think LeBron, Luka, and Austin need to find ways to be threats together. There's way too much one-on-one basketball, and the beauty is I think LeBron and Austin have already built a really nice relationship and running ball screens for each other in clutch situations. We saw it against Indiana. We saw it against Chicago. We saw some late game stuff that worked. But Luka's going to have to, I think, involve them in some way. But like your question of, well, do they have to change kind of Luka ball? If you're Luka Doncic, you're going, my stuff works. Like I got to the finals with it. I've been a part of top whatever offenses consistently. I've been first team all NBA with it. My basketball works. Get a center around me, and I'll take you out to the promised land. I think that's how he feels. And
It might be, but it's also like you've never had LeBron on your team. Like it just feels like a waste of LeBron's skills. Why have LeBron on the team if that's what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Like and I know there are a almost weird number of people who were like, see, that's what we've been saying all along. No, I don't want to get rid of LeBron for the sake of getting rid of LeBron. I don't want him to opt out and then leave for the sake of not having to deal with the LeBron headache anymore. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you are not maximizing LeBron's skill set, and you are not maximizing LeBron and Luka being on the court at the same time. If LeBron is standing over there off to the side while Luka runs pick and roll, 36% of the time that they bring the ball up the court, like it's just that that math doesn't compute to me, and again, like that's where like we started this conversation with ideologies and the Celtics being so religiously committed to their ideology and shooting so many threes. They've shot 100 threes through two basketball games and missed 75 of them. I'm sitting here saying maybe cut back a little bit, get to the basket, get to the line a little bit more. And my point here is like, yeah, you could be committed to Luka ball. You can when you have that second group out there and LeBron and Austin are sitting perfectly fine running Luka ball, then perfectly, like, of course, run it then. But if that's the a significant portion, if that is all your diet, while LeBron is on the roster, then next year's a rebuild year. Next year is just a gap year while you wait for LeBron to exit stage left. And I think that would be a waste of this window. I think that would be a bummer if that's how next year plays out.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. This is kind of just how star wing pairings play, though, right? I mean, if you look around the league, it was Paul George and Kawhi, very much similar questions of why don't they run anything together? And now one guy is not even in the same coast anymore. He was shipped off to Philly, right? And I think even Kawhi and Harden and Kawhi don't run a lot of stuff together. It's Harden and Zoo, honestly, that run a lot of their stuff together. And you keep going around the league. The Knicks are a Jalen Brunson offense. Like Mikal Bridges, you went off in the fourth quarter. A lot of that
same engine.
I'm not comparing Bridges to LeBron or anything like that. I'm just saying like these. I remember when they traded for Bridges, it was like, oh man, like Bridges did all this offense in Brooklyn. You put that in the Knicks, right? He's gonna run some offense. That's not really how it's worked. OG Anunoby got $40 million a year. Still does very similar stuff he did in Toronto, just on a very higher stage and more impact. But it's not like they're running pick and roll for him. Denver obviously is very unique because they run their stuff to their center. Warriors are very unique because they run a lot of off-ball stuff. But from by and large, this is how it works. I think the question now is, can LeBron, I guess, morph and do and I think you're right to an extent. Like it is some, I guess waste wouldn't be the word, but I guess this is not the optimized role for both of them. I'm with you. But this is, you kind of have to play as your best player does. Don't kill me, LeBron stands, but or at least the offensive player you're going to rely on the most if you don't want to, you know, give Luka the best player nod yet. And Luka's that, and it's clear Luka wants to run ball screens going against another big man. It's how he plays, and I think everyone has to fit around that. And I think as a team, your job is to cater to the strengths of your star, not to change your star into different. I get what you mean by making them adjust in somewhat of their game to kind of to win at a higher level. I think Luka, at least offensively, this style works, and the Lakers to me would be, you know, it would be a mistake not to lean into that. And I would like more stuff where him and LeBron work together, him and Austin work together. It just, this kind of feels like what it is. And I think there's still ways for Austin can run the offense and LeBron have his turn run the offense. But when those three are out there, it's going to look clunky a little bit. And
all right, so you used examples of other star tandems that haven't done anything together, right? Devin Booker and Kevin Durant never really did anything together.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo never really did much together either.
Yeah.
Which is fucking bananas to me because that seems like a perfect pick and roll tandem. But you know what?
Giannis doesn't want to play center. So what do you do?
Okay, sure. Welcome to exiting in the first round every year, Giannis. Like that's the you want to know why Milwaukee is stuck exiting in the first round every year? It's because your star won't do certain things. It's like we talked about, you know, a couple of conversations ago, whenever we talked about it. The market inefficiency in basketball is the unselfish star. It's Steph Curry allowing Steve Kerr to run his cute little system. And then when the time comes, you know, being able to take over the game in ways that makes Golden State Warriors fans think that Steve Kerr is a moron for not running that all, you know, not building the plane out of the black box. It's what we've done with like this tech bro stuff where it's like, all right, we're going to maximize. We are only going to have one diet with all of these superstars, and superstars have obviously been happy with it because it inflates their numbers and they get to pursue records and record books. But a lot of these guys, I think, are achieving below their belt because at the end of the day, you're going to lose to a team in the Denver Nuggets where Nikola Jokic is willing to set a screen for Jamal Murray. You're going to lose to like the Knicks. You know, they're beating the Boston Celtics right now. But have you seen what's been happening with the betting market right now? The odds came out and you could get plus money on Boston. I bet by the end of the night, you're not going to be able to get plus money on Boston coming back in the series because their offense does run more efficiently by having guys be willing to do, Jason Tatum especially, be willing to do stuff off of the ball. Like if the Lakers, if we're having a serious conversation here about what can be done to put the Lakers in the best situation that they can be to win a championship next year, Luka's going to have a real conversation about having an impact, any kind of an impact, when he doesn't have the basketball, you know? And all right, so the Nuggets, they are getting slaughtered right now, but still, it's going to be it's 1-1. They picked up the split that they needed to. They're going back to Denver.
They did their job.
They did what they needed to do. And by the way, they won a championship a couple of years ago, you know? Yeah. And so like, I don't know. I keep landing on with what the Lakers are where they are situated right now. And remember, they have one first rounder that they can trade this offseason. They have one second rounder that they can trade this offseason. It's a number 55 pick. You're not going to get a whole bunch for it. People keep telling me, they could just do pick swaps. You aren't going to wind up swapping those picks. So why are you actually going to entertain that as an asset if you're another team? All of the contracts that you talked about that are considered movable, the only one there that I would consider legitimately movable is probably Gabe, because all of the other ones, you have Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber. Both of those guys are Luka guys, so they probably aren't getting traded. Rui Hachimura is of all of the contracts that we could potentially be talking about here, he was the only guy who stepped up in the postseason. He played to the level that he needed to in the postseason. You're going to trade your one postseason riser coming off of this last trip. You could maybe trade Austin, but I don't think the Lakers want to do that. Like, there just aren't there aren't a ton of like trade scenarios here. You don't have a ton of free agency money to work with. Your center rotation is probably going to have at least one, maybe two veteran minimum signees. Like in terms of personnel management and roster changes and stuff like that, there aren't a ton of avenues that the Lakers can take here. So to me, the only avenue that the Lakers have at actually giving themselves a real chance at winning a championship next year is running some kind of system that maybe takes a step back off of Luka, but also maximizes LeBron James and to a lesser extent, Austin Reeves. That to me is the only path. Like it's the Avengers thing, right? It's Doctor Strange looking at Tony Stark and saying like, there's only one. He ran 14 trillion gajillion, all of these scenarios here. And the only way that the Lakers can do this is by focusing on this kind of schematic advantage that they could potentially have by employing Luka, by employing LeBron James. That's by not taking advantage of it, Raj, is how we arrive eliminated in the first round and like scratching our heads wondering like, man, the one thing that we thought that the Lakers would have going for them was their ability to score, and they couldn't score in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, right. And that's, again, there's a level of reality versus what I would like to happen, right? And these things can happen, but if you're expecting, I don't say this like attacking him. This is just the reality of the player he is, and this is how few offensive players have operated. Luka Doncic is not setting ball screens when he doesn't have the ball. Like, it's just like, this is whatever it is for him. I'm not sure, year 7. It's just, he's a brilliant basketball player. I think he's the best, shot creator to ever walk in the league in terms of readiness and prepared to run a team and had the experience for it. But it's very hard in me where it's like, once I give the ball up, I'm going to go stand on the wing and kind of take a break offensively. And look, LeBron's good enough to where he can kind of create offense with that, but you get no synergy. I think the Denver, mention is makes a lot of sense. Murray and Jokic have a beautiful 2-man game, maybe the best 2-man game in the league, to be honest. And they won a title with it. We know a lot about it. They are also a basketball fit, beautiful pairing because it's a guard and a center. It's why the Dame Giannis thing is so perplexing, because those are two positions that should work together. The Lakers is a little different because and you're kind of pushing LeBron to the center position. And I think that's part of the calculation JJ made when he went to small ball. He's like, look, I'm small technically, but LeBron's my center. Like, deal with it, other teams. Minnesota's like, all right, we'll take right care of it. But I think that's the hope going into next season. Maybe a full training camp with Luka, in helm, and LeBron and them can kind of get some more practices under the belt. It's very clear there were almost no practices going into the playoffs. JJ, after game 1 against Minnesota, do you remember what his post-game quote was, Anthony, after game 1 against Minnesota where we got blown out? He's like, oh man, we should have scrimmaged. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, like, you're right. A lot went wrong in that series.
Yeah,
you're right. Like, there's a lot a lot has to go wrong if the 3 seed is going to lose in 5 games to the 6 seed.
To me, the seeding they're 1 game apart, like, or maybe
but
tied.
the reason that the Lakers were in that predicament and the reason they had that seed is because they beat the crap out of good teams over the course of the year. They handled good teams. The Minnesota didn't. And that was, again, one of the strengths that I had, like, I listed going into the series. But anyway, you had the learning experience here for JJ, and you had the learning experience for a lot of these guys and stuff like that. Fine. But like, there's this comment here from Bashir. And by the way, a lot of the conversation that Raj and I are having right now actually perfectly answers this question that we've been that we got here via super comment. So I'm going to play this. Then I'm going to go to the super comments and I'm going to show this one. JR Madrano asking, with Luka now as the centerpiece, what's a new basketball philosophy or idea you'd like the Lakers to explore when building the team in the offseason? And this is kind of what the entire conversation we're having right now. But yeah, Bashir asks or wrote, the Lakers are the only fan base that constantly want their best players deferring to lesser ones. In this case, the quote unquote lesser players are LeBron James. He's the quote unquote lesser player here that I want Luka to involve more in the offense than he did last year. Or that I want the Lakers to try to find a way to involve more or one or the other. If LeBron has the ball, I want Luka more involved. And I know it's like, I don't have him setting pin down screens and I don't have him setting like I don't see that playing out. I don't see him setting an Iverson screen for anybody else. That's not happening. But like, is there anything that can be done? Can we even put Luka like in a corner? Raj, think of how many times that like Luka actually went down and stood in a corner just to stretch out a defense that way.
He's not going. No, he's not going all the way down there because then he has to get all the way back on defense. He's not going all the way to the corner.
That's Raj. If he's wearing his Fitbit, that's like 20 extra steps. Like
Right,
I'd
yeah.
consider that a win. But like this is where like, you know, I'm not disagreeing with you. You are like right now we're having I think a funny conversation in a way, because it's like half of our country talks about the world that we wish we lived in, and the other half of the country talks about the world that we actually live in. And because those two factions of our country, or of our world, even like that's a worldview thing, that you are wired either to want to live in a world that is this way,
exists. Yeah.
or you have to exist in the world that actually exists, right? And because that gap is so big, all we wind up doing is screaming at each other online. And that's essentially what we've been doing. Is for like the last 25 minutes, we've been screaming at each other online. And my thing is, I am wired to always want to like envision ways that we could improve the world that we live in, or improve the team that I root for. And to me, the surest way that I see the Lakers actually improving next season is to maximize those two dudes, LeBron James and Luka Doncic. And that would, to me, separate the Lakers from these other superstar tandems that coexist. They don't actually make each other any better. They just kind of awkwardly coexist.
I'm with you on that. And again, I wish that world existed. That'd be great. But then like I think Luka's such a generational talent that you take what he has and then you live with the deficiencies, right? That's just how good he is. And we did the car reference. I forgot what pod ago, but it's like, again, so you bought a supercar, right? You're like, oh man, this is an amazing, I'm about to take this to the track and run this. And you're like, why doesn't it fly? Like, what? Like, this has wheels. What do you like?
Yeah.
It just, this car is not going to fly. Like, if you want to fly, go buy an airplane, and there's other issues with that. But to me, like, I think there's so much low hanging fruit that we could get, that we're like, this conversation to me, Anthony, is why I don't want to blow up the team. Don't want to like give away all my offseason stuff, but like, I want to see what this looks like with a center and then recalibrate at the deadline. Like, you know, and, you know, it can make a maybe bigger move there. And hopefully, you know, Luka's healthy, all those guys, and you can kind of stay above the 4 seed by doing that. But yeah, I think expecting that stuff to change, I doubt it. I think there's, again, it would be great if Luka became an inverted ball screener. That'd be awesome, right? Imagine LeBron's getting screens from Luka. That's a tough thing to guard. Probably not happening, of which is why I was more in the line with, hey, let's have Austin screen for Luka. That's something that I think
that's it though, Raj. I would let Austin run around and set screens for both of those guys.
Yeah, he'd done it for LeBron for sure.
All I'm saying is like, fine. Again, I'm not anticipating Luka Doncic turning into Karl Malone. I don't want him to turn into Karl Malone in very many ways, like a ton of ways. I don't want Luka Doncic to turn into Karl Malone.
Right.
But like, I do think though that like, I don't think going and standing in a corner is that hard of an ask, you know, or like just pull, you know, because at various points in that series, Luka would give up the ball and Jaden McDaniels was just going face guarding Luka. Okay, well then put Jaden in an impossible spot, you know, turn Jaden into the low man by way of where you're going to stand on the court and what the Lakers are trying to accomplish out there. I was like anytime that Austin set a screen for Luka, and again, this is where we go back to JJ's spacing principles and how dogmatically he follows those. How many north and south or vertical screens did we see the Lakers set in that series?
0.
It just didn't have, or when they finally did, Rui had that third quarter from heaven. Remember how incredible Rui looked when they finally started setting that north and south screen? and he was operating in the short roll and he was making the right reads and the Lakers offense took off. Like that's one of those things where like, okay, if we're not going to see Luka change his stance on the way that he would prefer to play basketball, how can we maximize the way that he wants to play basketball? That's one way. Whenever Austin was setting screens for Luka, it was always that like touch ghost screen where you would set the screen and he would immediately flare out to the opposite side without ever actually making any contact. And all that you generated there was a switch, which is like, okay, you know, but when Austin and LeBron are running their pick and rolls and when they look their best, they're running more of a north and south pick and roll.
Right.
LeBron is dropping that pocket pass to Austin, or Austin is dropping that pocket pass to LeBron. And one of those two guys is operating against a compromised defense. That's all I'm saying is that like, just diversify the attack that the Lakers had there far more than we saw it in that series. And I think that's how the Lakers are going to improve far more than any kind of personnel move.
I'm with that. Again, like these are all really fun conversations. I think it's totally different and again, this is, I'm sure, stuff that JJ had and who knows what his ideas were, but tie game, fourth quarter, game 3, we need a win. Luka goes, yeah, I like my matchup against Gobert. All right. And if you're going to attack Gobert, Minnesota smartly, Chris Finch puts him on Rui Hachimura and goes, all right, you're going to have to involve him. Like the other two aren't going to be involved. Like you want to attack Gobert, this is how it's going to work. Then Naz Reid comes to the game. And again, I'm not attacking Luka for this. I think there's a level of coaching that has to be done as well. There's a level of understanding. There's a level of experience when you play with guys together, understanding what they like to do and not. But I thought that's kind of where this offense really died out. And it was very stagnant, a lot of one-on-one play. And, you know, there were some like stuff that leaked out during the regular season, the games against Chicago, the games against Indiana, you know, all these games where we could not score late. We're like, oh, they'll figure it out. And I really thought they would, games against Charlotte. But yeah, it came back to bite them. And hopefully they're having an offense that makes more sense going next year, which I think just starts from the floor level, getting a center that can roll to the basket. And if Jackson Hayes not that guy, go get another guy that can, whether that's Nick Claxton, whoever it is that's available. I'd be shocked again if they don't fill that role. I know Rob Pelinka said there's a lot of center archetypes out there. There are. I would be really surprised.
One that they need.
Yes, I'd be very surprised if Jonas
There's a lot that you can do, but there's one in particular that Luka really, really likes.
And the shock, like Dallas got it in the draft. Like I know Derek Lively, a very liked pick, but 10th overall pick. That's not a crazy draft pick to go find it at. They went and got in on the draft. Then they traded for Gafford, who was rotting away in Washington. It's like these guys are out there. You can go find them.
Luka's going to make them better. Like whoever, you decide to get, that player's going to look a lot like Jackson Hayes for most of the year, looked a lot better. Now we saw him plateau, and I think JJ kind of made him plateau a little too early, but still, like, yeah, to your point, the centers that you're talking about here, Gafford looks a hell of a lot different without Luka, right? Lively looks a hell of a lot different without Luka. Yeah. So like just go out and get like a feasible center, somebody better than Hayes, and see where that gets you.
Yeah, and then, just bringing this conversation, full circle, we started this with Mitchell Robinson, and Mitchell Robinson is obviously better than Jackson Hayes, but Tibbs doesn't love Mitchell Robinson. It's not a guy that he loves to play, but he understands that I have an advantage here. I have an athletic advantage that I get by playing him, and Mitchell Robinson can pick up 3 fouls, and Tibbs is like, I don't care. Like, this guy, you're going to play, and we're going to play you through everything. We're going to play you through these fouls that Boston is doing. I wish JJ trusted Jackson more, is a weird sentence, but I do think there was, like, if you're either going to go to the playoffs with Jackson as your only center, you kind of have to die with it too.
Yeah.
And, and we didn't. So,
well, if you're going to go into a postseason when Jackson Hayes is your center, you're going to die. It's
just when, right?
Yeah. Like, it's like you're either going to die with him or without him, but you're going to die. Eat Arby's. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A quick reminder, please hit subscribe wherever it is that you guys are listening to this. If you guys are on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. If you guys are listening in the morning to the pod, please subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And then, over the course of the offseason too, as I've kind of mentioned, we have some fun stuff lined up. And we also have, we're figuring out ways for you guys to offer up your feedback on what you want from the show here moving forward. So keep an ear and an eye out for that when it comes out as well. So until I'm not going to do a lowdown today. There's nothing really to talk about. I'm going to split this show up into 3 parts because of how long it was. But until tomorrow, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chapalu of Silver Screen and Roll. Have a great rest of your evening. Make somebody else's. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.